From ancient alien remains to a mysterious biblical temple, plus the newest development on the Utah Monument, here are 10 amazing discoveries. Number 10. Alien tools. Our world has no shortage of amazing discoveries. And while there are definitely some cool archaeological discoveries that we're going to talk about today, let's first take a look at a screw that some groups are claiming is proof that aliens once lived on Earth. The screw in question is believed to be 300 million years old. It was found in a stone by a controversial UFO researcher in a remote region of Russia. The image of the fossilized screw does appear to look man-made. It was first discovered in the 1990s, and since then has been a hot topic of discussion between UFO enthusiasts and mainstream scientists. This is because most trusted scientists claim that it's not a tool at all, but rather the fossil of a strange sea creature known as a crinoid. According to a report from the Daily Mail, mainstream scientists have found other fossilized crinoids that look basically identical to the screw found in Russia. There have been at least 600 species of crinoids throughout history, but most are now extinct. They would have had many arms and grown on a type of stalk, which kept the creature tethered to the seabed. Even when alive, the creature would have looked kind of like a spring, and this accounts for the shape of the screw. But despite all the back and forth between fringe scientists and professional scientists, there still has not been any finalized data published about the mysterious artifact, even though it was discovered over 30 years ago. Number 9. The flying pencil. There's nothing more exciting than finding the wreckage of a warplane sitting at the bottom of a seabed. Well, the very last Dornier 17 bomber has finally been discovered and lifted from the English Channel after resting for 73 years at the bottom of the sea. This aircraft was one of the most feared bombers during the Second World War. It was an especially horrific machine during the Battle of Britain. Hundreds of the bombers were built in aircraft factories across Germany from between 1939 and 1940. Huge patches of London and Norwich were absolutely devastated by bombs dropped by these murderous vehicles. Because of the slender shape of the Dornier 17 bomber, it was often known as a flying pencil. In the early years of World War II, flying pencils were the backbone of the German Luftwaffe, the equivalent of the German Air Force. What makes this discovery so amazing is that the Dornier 17 pulled out of the English Channel is the only one of its kind known to have survived all these years. It cost over $600,000 just to get the airplane out of the water, with the operation being led by the Royal Air Force Museum in Britain. Now that the flying pencil has been found and retrieved, it'll be restored to its former glory. As for the story of how this particular bomber crashed, historians believe that during the morning of August 26, 1940, the bomber got separated from the rest of its squad and was intercepted by a Defiant fighter aircraft from East London. The Dornier 17 would have been bombarded by machine gun fire and then sank. And there it sat for 73 years. Number 8. Obsidian Blades. When it comes to remarkable archaeological discoveries, we typically see them being made in Europe, Asia, or Africa. That's because human history is far more extensive and interesting across the water. But a recent discovery in Oregon is changing all that. A stash of obsidian blades has recently been found by a landowner in western Oregon. For anyone who's seen Game of Thrones, you'll likely recognize these obsidian blades as the same tools that you'd use to kill a White Walker. But these artifacts are legit. They were likely stashed away thousands of years ago by prehistoric traders moving across the continent. There were at least 15 obsidian blades found, each one double-sided and still sharp enough to do some serious damage. Thousands of years ago, these blades would have been worth a fortune. They could have been traded to other tribes of people who would use them to make tools or weapons. The discovery was made in 2015 when the owner of the land was trying to dig an irrigation ditch. Researchers from the Oregon State Historic Preservation Office were informed of the discovery, but even after all these years, the artifacts have yet to be properly dated. Researchers believe that they are at least 1,000 years old, but they're likely much older. Number 7. The origins of language. Scientists have made an incredibly fascinating discovery. We now have a better understanding of how humans came to master language when no other animal on Earth has been able to do it. The reason we didn't know before is because mammal brains don't fossilize. Scientists have never been able to study a fossilized human brain. It just isn't possible. The result has been years of arguing over how humans learned to talk and when it happened. This newest study went down in the United Kingdom, and scientists took a look at the brains of humans, monkeys, and apes. By comparing our current brains with the thought organs of our ancient ape ancestors, scientists determined that language originated in the brain roughly 25 million years ago. This is outstanding because scientists have previously thought we developed language about 5 million years ago. But by identifying special pathways stemming from the audio cortex and comparing them between the three species, researchers found the pathway evolved right around the time that humans were macaque monkeys. When we evolved away from being these tiny monkeys about 25 million years ago, the pathway began to develop in our brains for using and recognizing speech and language. Unfortunately, what happened over the next 25 million years is still a total mystery, but it's a mystery that scientists are getting closer to solving. According to a professor of comparative neuropsychology, by identifying and understanding the origins of language and the pathways in the brain by which we understand language, our own abilities in the future can be enhanced. Number 6. Tooth tumor. The strangest tumor in history has been discovered in a necropolis in Spain, where archaeologists found the ancient remains of a Roman who died with a massive calcified chunk sticking out of her pelvis. But what's really strange about this tumor, other than its massive size, is that there were 4 teeth found embedded within it. The teeth were deformed, and 2 of them were still attached to the wall of the tumor. According to the researchers who discovered this ancient woman, she died about 1600 years ago. The condition that caused her tumor is known today as an ovarian teratoma, which obviously occurs in the ovaries. Her tumor was nearly 2 inches in diameter. As for the mysterious teeth discovered inside of it, the science behind it is quite incredible. The fact is that tumors form using germ cells, the same cells that form hair, teeth, and bones. That means that the tumor was basically growing bones and teeth on the side of this woman's hip almost 2,000 years ago. It's the oldest example ever found of this type of condition. Number 5. Mysterious temple. There are new discoveries being made in Jerusalem all the time. This is the religious epicenter of the ancient world, and it's literally filled with secrets. According to Fox News, a new Iron Age temple complex recently found is now shedding light on an old biblical city. The temple dates back to the 10th century BC and was found back in 2012. It's since been identified as the biblical city of Moza from the Kingdom of Judah. Archaeologists working from the Tel Aviv University excavated the site and unearthed 2 buildings. One was a temple and the other was a mysterious structure. There was a stone altar found inside the temple, complete with a stone offering table and a pit that was found to have animal bones inside of it. As of yet, researchers aren't 100% sure what the stone offering table had been used for. But the reason this temple is so significant is that it proves there were other temples in Jerusalem other than Solomon's temple before it was destroyed during the Babylonian conquest of Jerusalem back in 587 BC. It's also incredible that nobody found the temple until recently. Archaeologists have not finished excavating the site, but they're hopeful that even more mysteries will be solved as they continue their research. Number 4. Outer space signal. Let's step away from the ancient world for a minute and take a look at an astounding discovery that just came to us from outer space. In 2020, a mysterious radio burst was discovered sending signals to our planet on a rotation of 16 days. Fast radio bursts originated from a galaxy about 500 million light-years away, and it's one of the greatest mysteries in astronomy in recent memory. Even though MIT said in a statement that it's probably not aliens, you shouldn't be so quick to rule out aliens. The fast radio bursts pulsed all the way to our planet from across the universe, and they were detected for roughly 1 hour for 4 days at a time before stopping, then picking up again 12 days later. The cycle repeated for over a year, with the signal being sent to us every 16 days. It was as if something was being broadcast from a different planet. Unfortunately, scientists still don't understand where the signal came from, or how it could have repeated at such a regular interval if not for an alien intelligence behind it. And it's apparently stopped. And while there could definitely be some kind of cosmic event sending out the signal, it's incredibly unlikely for it to be moderated at such regular lengths. Number 3. The Fifth Monument. The Utah Monument was discovered in 2020. It was a strange slab of metal that turned up in the middle of the Utah desert with no explanation and then disappeared under the cover of night. The first monument captured the attention of the American people, and everyone was dying to know who put the strange metallic artifact in the middle of the desert and why. But all this time later, in December of 2020, the 5th mysterious monolith has now turned up in the Netherlands. It's just as mysterious as the first. It showed up in a Dutch nature reserve and nobody knows how it got there. The Utah monument was followed by a monument in California and even one in Romania, both of which disappeared within just days and were never seen again. Officials have refused to confirm the existence of the monolith, but nonetheless they keep cropping up all over the world. There was even a golden monolith that appeared in Colombia. And while it would be easy to dismiss the monolith as a silly hoax, the fact that they've appeared in different countries in the middle of a pandemic when nations are locked down is a total enigma. It seems impossible that any group could coordinate in such a strange time, never mind erect random metal towers in completely random places all over the globe. Even as we go into 2021, nobody has any idea who's building these monuments or why they're being placed in the wilderness. Number 2. Fetuses with memory. A new study is blowing the doors open on what we know about fetuses and how they develop in the womb. Even though you probably don't remember anything of your days in the womb, a new study is suggesting that a fetus at 30 weeks old has short-term memory. This is a totally jaw-dropping discovery. According to researchers from the Maastricht University Medical Center in the Netherlands, people used to believe that a fetus was just a kind of empty vessel. But after studying how fetuses react to stimulus in about 100 pregnant women, that doesn't look like the case anymore. Scientists used special vibrating stimulation to see how fetuses would react while in the womb. The first time the fetus heard the vibrating sound, they acted startled. But after repeating the vibrating sound at 30-second intervals, the fetus got used to it and didn't react. This proves that at 30 weeks old, a fetus has a memory of at least 10 minutes. There isn't much more known about the topic right now, but this first discovery is probably going to be one of many in the science of how fetuses and memory develops. Number 1. Oldest human footprints. Near a Tucson construction site in Arizona, archaeologists discovered one of the oldest known footprints on the planet. They found this footprint in an ancient Arizona cornfield. It had been left in the muck at least 2,500 years ago. The footprint has been fossilized in time ever since. But wait a minute. It wasn't the only footprint that the archaeologists discovered. There were also ancient footprints found from children, dogs, and probably ancient farmers. By following the footprints, you can see the movements of a few adults, at least one kid, and their pet dogs as they tended their crops and irrigation ditches nearly 3,000 years ago. This discovery was made by archaeologists investigating a large piece of land near Interstate 10. They believe the footprints are the oldest of their kind ever to be discovered in the American Southwest. But what's even more interesting is that the footprints have given scientists a sneak peek into the daily lives of some of the first people to ever practice agriculture in the region. It's almost like the researchers were able to follow them through time. It's also amazing to note that farmers 2,500 years ago had canine companions. It looks like dogs have been man's best friend for time immemorial. How do you feel about fetuses having memories? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe and come back soon for another amazing video right here on American Eye.